Why do we accept this desire to maintain an ethnic majority? I don't. Like, I think in general, it's a toxic concept. The problem is that it's almost like a required toxic concept if you look at the realities of the dynamics of the Middle East and the rest of the world. The truth is the majority of the world operate in somewhat ethno-states. Particularly the Middle East operates in a somewhat ethno-state, religious state situation. So like the situation that we have in the United States and the West is actually a very unique one, where like this idea of a country being not having a religious or ethnic basis, it's actually very unique, and I like it, right? But you can't just somehow implant that, right, in a region where no other countries have that operation, right? It has to be something that develops slowly over time. Like, for example, if you look at most Middle Eastern countries, right? So you could see that the majority are those colors. And that's not a coincidence. It's not because everyone just likes those colors. Those are what are called the Pan-Arab colors. So all of the Pan-Arab colors is about establishing an ethno-state. And it's about Arabs being able to rule themselves. So it sounds like it's free from imperialism, and there's a good side of that, but the consequence is it's somewhat of an ethno-state, right? A lot of these countries also have Islamic symbols on them as well, because they're also religious states. So because of the context of the region, right, that like that all these states are religious, all these states are like, are ethnicity based and national based, it makes sense, considering that Jews need a safe area around the world and they can't just rely on the United States. It makes sense that they would have their own, at least for now. I always say that the way to regard it much more is more of like a safe space. And the reason why you don't want to, it's not the same thing as something like white nationalism. Or like a white ethno-state, is because like a white ethno-state like relies on this concept that whites are being genocided, right? Like that there's a white genocide, that like whites are being run, and in reality it's so the opposite. So I should say it's the opposite anymore, right? But we'd all love to get to an area where, ethnicity, religion, and all that stuff matters very little. But to me, it's kind of crazy to expect people to be like, well, you guys have to accept everyone, and then watch that majority population turn it into an Arab pan-state where Jews become second-class citizens. Saying, okay, like you guys should just have to deal with that, right? You could just have to take the hit so you have the moral headway. It makes sense in a world where there are tons of ethnic and national and religious states, right? To at least have one for your own where you're safe, at least for just one country. And I think that that's totally valid.
The Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank from Jordan, and both Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula.
Yeah, and that's also accepting, like, I don't actually think Israel is an ethno-state for Jews. Israel accepts it gives equal rights to all people who are not Jewish. Israel also, people can convert to Judaism, right? It's not just, race-based or ethnicity-based completely. The only really right that Jews have over Israel, like, there's obviously they have the right of return. And that's because the purpose of the creation of Israel is to protect Jews. Yeah. To protect endangered people. Yeah. Like the issue with a white ethno-state, right, is because it's based on a lie. And that's like the problem.
Israel was now